Welcome back, part 2 of lesson 5. We did cut out 5.3 just because I think it was a little too much for our timing. Of course, we're going to be doing completing the square right here, so don't be too scared. I didn't want to go over the in-depth part of what the completing the square is, okay? There are a few steps to here. Not very happy with how they demonstrated it right here, so we're gonna break it up into 3 steps. It's a lot of intense things right here. Step 1, make sure I got it right here so I don't mess it up. Let's rearrange our quadratic equations. We're gonna rearrange our equation. When I say rearrange our equation, that means I'm fixing it to where on the left side, at least, I mean, it could be left or right, but our preference is left side. On our left side of the equation, it's x squared plus 10x. Let me zoom in just a smidge. Okay. Now, we need that so that we can make a perfect square in terms of factoring, okay? So basically, we're looking for something that is gonna factor out very nicely, evenly, and you'll see that in just a second. Now, after I factor my square, step 2, we're gonna use this little trick. We're gonna do b divided by 2, square it, and add to both sides. Of course, if it's negative, then we take care of the negative. It'd be whatever the case may be, but we'll go into the negative part whenever we come across it. Step 3. As you can see right here, this is a perfect factor. So we make sure we have the factoring done and solve it. When we solve it, you'll see all this great information right here and right here. 2 different ways because of the plus and the minus. So don't forget, one time is plus, another time is minus. Sorry, I put the arrow in the wrong spot. All right, it's gonna be pretty, I don't want to say intense again because I already said that, but it is going to be very arithmetically involved. So make sure that you're ready to get the arithmetic part of it. I forgot to scroll down a little bit, pause it so you can see where I put the arrows. Okay, I'm excited. Here we go. Very excited. Here we go. Consider the equation. We got y equals x squared plus 8x plus 10. We're going to do exactly what we did just to show it. If we had the graph just like we would do in decimals, you have it. You should know that this is my 0, this is my 0. If you look closer at the graph, you can see that we can't distinguishly say what that number is or what that number is. We know that this is 7, but in between, we can't presumably say it's 6.5. We can't presumably say this is negative 1.5. There is an actuality to figuring out exactly what those numbers are, which is why we're doing completing the square. Okay, so first things first, let's rewrite this equation, but let's set it equal to 0. We got x squared plus 8x plus 10 equals 0. That's the first step, okay? So I took out the y and I added the 0 at the end. This is gonna help us solve exactly what we need to do. Step 1. Remove this 10. Let's rearrange. Minus 10 to both sides. This erases over here. I got some good stuff right there, so I'm gonna rewrite it. X squared plus 8x equals 0 minus 10, negative 10. Use your calculator if you need to use your calculator. I have one right here today, so just in case we need to go over it, I'll go over it. Okay, that's step one. Step two. Step two. X squared plus 8x equals negative 10. I have to do something where it's my little b divided by 2 and I square it. What is b? Well, it's 8. I'll go back to the beginning. If we label these numbers, the imaginary one right here is a, the 8 is b, and the 10 is c. This comes from our standard form, our given quadratic function of a equals ax squared plus bx plus c. It's even on your formula chart right here. The day that you get your start test, boom, it's right there, okay? Now, because we identified that our b is 8, we're going to divide that by 2, and then we're going to square it. Now, when I do that, we're going to keep the 8 there. So 8x squared plus 8x. And I'm just worried about the numbers. Let's do that work over here. 8 divided by 2, and then we're going to square it. What is 8 divided by 2? You know what? Let's bring out the handy dandy calculator. Alpha y equals enter. 8 divided by 2, that's 4. Write it down. What is 4 squared? Definitely do it right here. Parentheses 4, parentheses up, squared, power 2, 16. With that 16, I'm going to box it because now I get to put that here. And don't forget, we're doing this to both sides, so it's going to be negative 10 plus 16. That's part of our steps. Go back to the first part of the video and we wrote it down. Now, step 3, we need to factor and solve. Before I do that though, let's take care of this ugly business right there. X squared plus 8x plus 16 equals this ugly mess together. Use my calculator, negative 10 plus 16. It's just 6. And we're going to leave it like that for right now. Box it. Get another sheet of paper because we're not done. Get another sheet of paper. 1 second. After I get this sheet of paper, step 3 is solving. Okay? So when I solve, this is going to be the interesting part. I can graph this and I'll find my 2 factors, but it's touching at 4. Let me get my iPad real fast. Let me set up my Desmos. I want you to see something. 1 second, getting Desmos ready. Of course, if you need to rewind, rewatch the beginning part so you know exactly what's happening. That's okay with me. Okay, got my Desmos. I'm gonna type in this left side of my equation, so that x squared plus 8x plus 16. Beautiful. We got our stuff. We got our graph. Terrific. Now, we've already learned. Let's put step 1 so we can see all the numbers. Okay. We've already known that, hey, this is my root. That's negative 4. I solve it. When I solve it, it's going to give me the good stuff. But since it's only touching one time, that means it's a perfect root, like it's a perfect square. So we would write that as x plus 4 squared. One more time, because I know that kind of raised a little bit of eyebrows. So our graph touched at x equals negative 4. Remember, we solve plus 4, plus 4. There's my 0. We got x plus 4 equals 0. I'm taking this, but because we need 2 of them, there's where that power 2 comes from. Don't freak out. All you're doing is this real quick and putting the power of 2. Okay, what does the power 2 represent? There are 2 of these, so if you did the box method, you should get the exact same thing right here. Next, I'm going to set that equal to square root of 6. Oh, skip a step. Let me erase. Let me just write down 6. That's my fault. Oh, no. 1 second, 1 second. Like I said, this is very, very good arithmetic stuff. Not perfect at all. That's my fault. Here we go. Just 6. And now we solve for x. Here we go. Solving for x, we got to get rid of that power 2. The way I do that, take the square root. Boom. Boom. Square root cancels out, so now we just got plus 4. Don't forget, when I take the square root of 6, it's plus or minus negative 6. And plus or minus square root of 6. And now I could solve. We have 2 situations. We have x plus 4 equals positive square root of 6. X plus 4 equals negative square root of 6. Of course, we need to solve for x, so we need it solo. Minus 4, minus 4. On both sides. Bring down the x. I know, we're probably freaking out over there. I know you guys are like, what the French toast is that? X equals, can't put these together, so I got negative 4 plus the square root of 6. X equals negative 4 minus the square root of 6. And these are my 2 roots. If we want to get a little more specific, we can. If I put this in decimal form, I'm going to do it real fast. Negative 4 plus the square root of 6. That's negative 2. That doesn't seem correct. 1 second. Let me make sure I'm looking at it correctly. Am I tripping out? That's the question. No, I'm not tripping out. I did it correctly. 1 second while I brainstorm real fast. Gonna check this because we should have gotten some intense information. So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna graph previous part. I'm gonna put it as plus 10 from the very beginning and see what we get. Yeah, right there. So very interesting. This is where completing the square is going to drive me nuts, but we have the correct answers. Our correct answers are right there. Boom, boom. Okay, we're good to go. That's what it is. Don't look at the negative 2. Don't look at the negative 6, because when we come back to it, this is where our little completing the square is going to drive me a little crazy. Because if I graph this just like I did on my Desmos, and I touch these 2 points, you'll see that this point is negative 6.4490, and this other point is negative 1.5510. And you'll see that we're labeling the zeros, those are our x-intercepts. Why are they different from our completing the square? I don't want to give any misconceptions, but we did do it correct, most definitely. Okay. It's 15 minutes. Definitely start looking at those next two problems on the bottom. I'll make a second video, a part 2, just so we can make sure we go over it together.